What's up, guys? Today we're going to be going over the latest Dune Awakening update that dropped on June 24th, patch 1.4.10. This is one of those massive content patches with new zones or game-changing features, but there's actually quite a bit here that's going to affect your day-to-day gameplay. We've got new Landsraad missions, dungeon balance changes, deep desert quality of life improvements, vehicle updates, performance fixes, and a whole lot more. So let's jump right into it. The biggest piece of new content in this update is the addition of 5 brand new Landsraad missions across Haga Basin and Smuggler's Run. These missions are Convergence, Sample Recovery, Clear the Run, Watching the Run, Terminal Velocity. If you've been grinding Landsraad for a while, you know things start feeling pretty repetitive after running the same objectives over and over. Adding more mission variety is definitely a good thing, and I think this is going to make Landsraad rotations feel a little bit more fresh moving forward. I'm interested to see which of these end up becoming the community favorites and whether they change the way people approach land shot progression in the future. Next up is a change I think a lot of players are going to appreciate immediately. Funcom has adjusted the Coriolis storm buildup in Haga Basin. Before this patch, visibility during the storm buildup could be pretty bad, making travel and exploration more annoying than challenging. Now the wind particles have been removed during the buildup phase, and the buildup period itself lasts longer, and the fog density has been reduced during the final hour before the storm hits. Personally, I kind of liked having the visibility get a little bit foggy, but I could see why they did it because of performance issues as well as just visibility for people that didn't enjoy it. So it's probably a good change. Basically, you'll be able to see what's going on around you a lot better and have more time to prepare before things get ugly with this update. Next up, let's talk about the Overland Testing Station changes they've made in this patch. If you're running in Overland Dungeons with a 4-player group, this next change is for you. Bosses now have roughly 20% less health when scaled for a 4-player party. Some dungeons fights were taking too long than they should have. This adjustment should help these encounters feel like you're actually not trying to take down a raid boss with a small squad. If you're a group that's been struggling with dungeon clears, you should definitely notice a difference with this patch, given that the boss has 20% less health. Hazard scaling changes also occurred for this patch. Funcom has also made some adjustments to environmental hazards, including overland testing stations. The goal here is to make dungeons mechanics feel more consistent, regardless of difficulty scaling. The changes were made to radiation, where the suit durability damage was adjusted, the stack buildup was adjusted, and for the poison lab, the duration of the poison was adjusted. Explosion sign was also adjusted, as well as the explosion delay and the stack buildup. So for explosive hazards that we see in the fire dungeons, for example, the duration was adjusted, the explosion side was also adjusted, and also the stack buildup. It also seems like they made adjustments to quicksand, so character sinking speed was adjusted, as well as the vehicle sinking speed was adjusted. Funcom also made some deep desert logout changes. It seems like one of the best quality of life changes in the patch has to be the deep desert logout timer adjustment. Previously, players had to wait a full 5 minutes before safely logging out in the PvE deep desert zones. Now it's been reduced to just 30 seconds. That's a really big improvement. I'm actually glad for that change. I kind of hate it waiting around 5 minutes in the deep desert when I'm just in a PvE zone. So that's a great change that they made. Next up, they had some vehicle updates. I think the most important one we want to talk about is the vehicle backup tool. Now display all recoverable vehicles. Previously, only a limited number would appear, which caused confusion and sometimes required players to relog. Funcom has also restored certain vehicles that entered known lost states and moved them into the recovery system free of charge. Anyone who's had a vehicle vanish into the sands of Arrakis knows how big of a win that is. Another change that cargo containers have been made significantly heavier. Their physics have been adjusted so that way they can't be nudged out of a base as easily. This means they won't get pushed around nearly as easily by other vehicles such as the buggy, which should cut down on accidental movement and some of the creative trolls out there in the deep desert that have been doing that lately. This is probably going to be one of the more controversial changes in this patch, but players can no longer stand on moving ornithopters at higher speeds. Instead, you'll be pushed off the vehicle. According to Funcom, this change was made specifically to address unintended combat tactics, especially in PvP. I can attest this definitely was a big problem. Being someone that's been in the deep desert since the launch of the game, this has been an issue for both, people that were trying to do PvE activities in there, but also for PvP, trying to have fair fights. You can still stand on an ornithopter at lower speeds, so transporting friends isn't completely gone, but a lot of the crazy airborne plays and combat tricks that people were pulling off are likely done. So I'm curious where everybody stands on this one because this is going to be controversial and probably affect the game for the foreseeable future. on how people are actually going to do combat tactics there. So I want to hear your thoughts on that in the comments, guys. So it seems like Funcom has also improved the Unstuck feature. It seems, I think anybody given their journey so far has gotten stuck at some point in the Funcom maps. So this is definitely a welcome change. I'm glad they're doing that. They're also making some changes to how overlay testing dungeons behave when it comes to the Unstuck features. Instead of you trying to glitch through the map in one of the dungeons, you'll now be transported to the beginning of the dungeon instead of getting glitched out into areas you're not supposed to be in. So it's a welcome feature. It makes it so you can't easily exploit. I think this is great because people are going to stop doing that as much and they'll actually have to grind legitimately. So I'm a fan of that. Uh, we also have some journey and new player improvements. There are also some updates aimed at improving the onboarding, progression clarity. The faction journey Climb the Ranks now includes clear objectives and descriptions. Contract related buttons have been renamed and expanded to better explain progression requirements. Players can now split stack functionality on delivery boards when available. Several story characters have also received updated cinematics, animations, and camera work. That's kind of cool, including Duke Leto's conversations and Zatara sequences in Heartgo Village. Veteran players probably won't notice these changes much, but new players should have a smoother experience. And this is going to be great for when the Xbox launches and the PlayStation, guys. Seems like Funcom has also put some more effort into performance improvements. This has been an ongoing issue for the game since launch, especially on different PCs. I know I've been getting stuttering lately, and I run a pretty high-end rig. Um, this update includes shadow memory optimizations, improved shadow rendering settings, Honka basic performance cleanups, and Chapter 3 and performance improvements in the rec of the Hephaestus. These aren't the kind of patch notes that people get excited, but they can have a noticeable impact on overall gameplay performance. If you experience frame drops in some of these areas, it's worth keeping an eye on performance after updating. I know something that I want to see is if they're going to actually improve performance in sandstorms. That's been an ongoing issue, but we'll see if this patch at least alleviate a little bit of that. There's a laundry list of bug fixes for this patch, guys. And I know I don't want to spend too much time going over all the exact individual ones. I would check out their website and see the full patch notes for those details. But I wanted to have some closing thoughts on this patch. Overall, I think this is a pretty solid update. The new Landsraad missions add some much needed variety. Dungeon balance is improving. Have to work on some of these dungeons. Deep Desert quality of life has gotten a major upgrade, and Funcom continues to put in the work into stability and performance, which is a good thing because they have the console launch in a couple months. The Coriolis Storm visibility changes alone are probably going to make a lot of players happy. This one isn't one of those headline-grabbing updates. These are the kind of patches that help keep a game healthy over the long term. Funcom is clearly trying to still listen to player feedback by making improvements and continuing to refine systems across the game. That being said, I still think Funcom has a ways to go before Dune Awakening really breaks out of what I call the summer doldrums. These quality of life updates are important, and they're definitely moving the game in the right direction. But I think a lot of players are still waiting for bigger additions to the end game, more reasons to stay engaged long term, and systems that keep people logging in day after day that aren't a daily grind like the Landsraad missions. Updates like this help smooth out the rough edges, but they're probably not the type of updates that bring back large numbers of players on their own. And if you just look at the Steam charts on their own, there's definitely some issues with Dune right now, especially in the summer. So the next few months are going to be extremely important for Dune Awakening. It'll be interesting to see how Funcom approaches player retention, end game progression, deep desert incentives, Landshrine participation, and the overall content cadence moving forward. I hope to see more updates that Funcom puts out, hopefully before they have their big September launch. But what are you guys excited for in Dune Awakening in the coming months? What kind of changes did you see in this patch that really affected you or impacted you? And how do you feel about them? Have you noticed any performance improvements that's down in the update? If you found this breakdown helpful, make sure to drop a like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you don't miss future Dune Awakening content that I put out, including endgame builds, tips and tricks, and videos like this where I keep you guys up to date on what's going on in the Dune world.